Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As I'm think rightly assuming that most of you did not hear about Zelensky or who Zelensky was and what he was doing before this invasion unprovoked invasion of Russians of Ukraine. I didn't know who Zelensky was. I mean, the first time when I heard about Zelensky was when former President Donald Trump was accused of quid pro quo with him, with Zelensky. Remember, the free mass media here tried to do something to Trump since the first day. So only then I started hearing about Zelensky, who Zelensky was, what Zelensky was. He was a clown, he was this, and I looked over his biography and I made sense a few things over there that I read, but I didn't know about him. So I said, well, whatever, got the information. Then the war started, the unprovoked Russian invasion. I have to use the terminology correctly here. And then I started, listening to what he said. And I started seeing pictures with him, so strong, so tough, so fantastic. And I started listening to some of his statements, speeches in front of all the great chancellors in Europe and across the world. And I was, oh my God, this is important, not. So I started understanding who this guy was, according to my intelligence, my knowledge, my experience, okay? And I don't give up about anybody else's experience. This is my experience. You can have your own thing. Here, good for you. You're entitled to. Otherwise, you will never have an opinion or an assessment if you're afraid that you're going to be wrong. No, express it and exchange information, knowledge, and you enhance your knowledge. Okay, let's move on here. So what happened here? I found out little by little by Zelensky's behavior and statements that I think he's very much a tyrant. Or at least he has the big inclination to be one of them. First, I would go to, and I'm not going to enumerate all the bannings that he initiated, religious, political, mass media, and cultural and so on. You're more familiar with that. If not, you can watch some of my videos and you will see when I used exact examples on that. In this article that I have here, he's going to show against his tendency of a communist, corrupt individual and a weasel, because he has this mentality of getting things done outside of the rules. So let's say you go and in order to have a passport issued, where you go, you have to follow some legal steps. You have to show up over there, you have to bring documentation, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to take a picture, this size and so on, you have to stay in line, you have to take a number, you have to schedule an appointment, you have to do all these things. I'm talking about certain kind of countries. So you have, all countries have rules and steps. You can't just jump over or just cut the line and say, you see me, just do a passport, make me a passport, I'll be back to pick it up. Hey, wait, you have to bring your birth certificate, you have to do this, you have to do this. No, just I know the boss. And since I know the boss, he's going to do it for me without all that. Now that's corruption. That is not right. That is breaking the law and so on, right? So Zelensky has this mentality that if he knows this is how it works everywhere, including the United States of America and other countries like Romania. The problem is how common this practice is. In Romania, it's very common. So if I know the rules, I'm going to have things done ahead of everybody else, and because we know one another, scratch my balls, scratch your balls. Oh, I'm sorry, it was my back. Anyway, so here we have, what's his name? I was about to say Trump. Zelensky giving us the example that if he would know, and he knows this guy would have had the power to bypass and ignore all the regulation, the rules, the policies of NATO. And Zelensky talks about Jens Stoltenberg, the NATO spokesperson. That's what he is. Stoltenberg has no power. The power is in Washington, is the military and the weasels over there. It's not Stoltenberg. He's just a guy that manages things, but the decision is made someone else. As an example or a proof, watch when Trump showed up in Europe and spoke with Stoltenberg at that long table, remember? and he spoke with Stoltenberg like a teacher spoke to a student. And Stoltenberg was all sweaty balls. All right, that showed who's who, what's what. If you have any, how should I put it, you're not certain about that. That's one example. Now, what did Zelensky do? Let's see. I have this little article here, and it's very revealing because that's his mentality. And there is that part of the world, like I know Romania, and I know that Ukraine is not far from that, or Russia, or those, states in that area. But hey, I'm generalizing, so don't take my word. Just read this article, and you tell me if, I have a point or not. Ukrainska Pravda. Zelensky says this weasel right here, the clown. If Ukraine joining NATO was up to this guy, it would have already happened. So if this guy had dictator's powers, it would have already happened. The reason now I'm telling you this did not happen, joining NATO, is because NATO has some policies, some doctrines, some, steps that you have to make that this guy has to follow. But because you think you know this guy, and this guy would have the power, he would bypass all those requirements that every other country had to go through, jump all the hoops. But he has this mentality, if it was up to him, he was really in charge, like a dictator, like a tyrant, that would have happened already. Regardless if you deserve or not, that's not a point. He probably thinks in his delusional brain that Ukraine should deserve. No, that's an impossibility. You are at war with another country. It's an impossibility by definition that you cannot join NATO if you are at war with another country. Or you have a little disagreement with one of your neighbors, territorial disagreements. Any kind of disagreement, you cannot join NATO until you have a little treaty signed by the two countries. So Ukraine before, that's a requirement for every country joining NATO for obvious normal reasons. If you want to join NATO, you as a country have to, in case of Ukraine, has to go and speak with the Hungarians and agree that they have no territorial demands and they're cool, they're okay. They have to speak with the Poles. They have to speak with Belarusians. They have to speak to Russians. They have to speak to Romanians. They have to speak with Slovakians. These are the neighbors of Ukraine. Now, I don't think Hungary will be A-okay because they have Transcarpathia. That they really want that, if you know what I mean. But maybe they will sign it. Do you think that Belarus will sign it? No. Do you think that Russia will sign it? You can't even go to that. It's like you want to participate in a competition, let's say in running, but you don't have legs. By definition, you can't participate. I mean, you can try, you know what I mean, or whatever, but you're not in there from the get-go. So that's what NATO policy says. Now, how can you bypass that? Only if a tyrant says, we're not going to take that in consideration, we just do it. That is corruption. That is exactly what I said at the beginning. But Zelensky sees that as and he says it in public. What does it tell you? It's like, I don't know, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have dinner tonight. Yeah, it's normal. You have to eat. I mean, good, very good. You're going to eat in the evening. That's not good. You're going to inflate like a fucking frog, and so on. A toad. So don't do it unless you work out during the day. Therefore, you balance the calories intake with the calories out and so on. Be careful what you eat when not too much wine, but hey, it's Sunday. So, God's day. So here we have this weasel. Now let's skim through the article and see, maybe he's going to bring some, arguments, but he can't for the reason I already presented. President Zelensky believes that NATO Secretary Stoltenberg has changed his attitude towards the issue of Ukraine's membership at the alliance and supports this decision. No, he can't. There are rules. Zelensky, in an interview to Finnish, Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian journalists, he's giving so much attention for nothing. But hey, nobody will be embarrassed after this guy is. You should see through him. This guy, take him seriously. That's another problem. Now I'm quoting Zelensky, I'm guessing. Our last meeting with Jens was better than all our previous meetings. But again, this is a joint decision. But I think that if the decision on Ukraine joining depended on Stoltenberg, Ukraine would be in NATO by now. It's impossible, my friend, unless he bypasses all the requirements. And I'm quoting again, I think in general Jens has changed his position. I believe, no offense to him, I have a good relationship with him. Because they need you. You're over there to do a job. You can be replaced in a second with another, I don't know, Abraham or something. Or with Jmihal. He has become a more decisive person. For us, for the world, and for the alliance, this is important. He thinks that Ukraine is somehow in the center of the world and the alliance. They just use you as a whore for now. And then after they did what they need to do, you're going to be thrown out. The president stressed that it was not Ukraine that decided not to join NATO. It was the countries of the alliance that hesitated to make the decision in due time. They can't, man. It's unbelievable. He recalled the example of Finland, which joined NATO quickly, and there was no reaction from Russia. But Finland was okay. It was not a war with Russia. Finland had a problem with whom? With Turkey and Hungary. You saw how that went. And Russia said yes. He said, well, go ahead, my friends, go ahead. But we're going to just put a little nuclear warhead on your country. We're going to just, we didn't have it. Now you're going to have, a little cross. So, whatever, he thinks in the way people think in those parts of the world. Some of them. But the problem is a lot of things over there in Romania. I can give you a lot of examples, direct examples, where you solve things by knowing people. And the same thing is here. Believe me. If you go over here, it's always the president or the CEO or the owner of the company. He can always bypass the policies of his own company. Who's going to do something to him? Nothing, nobody. But hey, in this case, NATO is not Stoltenberg's own company, which Zelensky seems to be upset about it. He doesn't like a decision made in a democratic way or equitable way. We like that one. He wants one person to make the decision and cut the line. Now, I think it's enough, just this one, on top of many other examples that are there with Zelensky banning that church, those parties, those media outlets, that language, the other language, and so on. You can't use letter Z, you can't use letter V on the license plates, and all these stupid fucking, I would say, tyrannical trends. But hey, you be the judge. If you like that, imagine that. If you like this kind of way life should be ruled, imagine that you're at the receiving end. You try to follow all the rules, and one guy like this gets ahead of you, gets what you want, because he's just cutting the line because he knows the guy. Would you like that? Like, for instance, you want to immigrate to the United States of America, and you try to follow all the hoops, jumps all the hoops. And then you got a guy just crossing the border, and all of a sudden he receives this, he receives that, and he's got a path for citizenship. Would you like that? After you stayed, 7-8 years in, let's say, Bangladesh, waiting to immigrate, this guy just crosses the border and he's right here. Would you like that? I definitely don't. I don't think that's fair, just, equitable. But hey, you see, that tells you that values are not values, as I always say, or, principles are not principles when they are just situational. Hey, my uncle raped that person. That guy raped her. That's a rape right there. Now that's not, don't have principle. There's not justice. So Zelensky is that kind. Well, we can do it, man. We do it here, a little bit here. That's how his Romanian style that I detest. At least here they let you live to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Over there it starts from the very beginning. You want to get a job? I'm just exaggerating, obviously, but I know examples. Not that here is not the same thing, but it's not so overt right there. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.